Hi there, in this screencast I'm going to go over some of the concepts that you'll need to know for Wednesday's quiz on Visual Studio. So the first thing that you want to know is that what IDE stands for, and it stands for Integrated Development Environment. Um, and that's the type of software that Visual Studio is, software that programmers use to write software. Also, you want to know what GUI stands for. It's the Graphical User Interface, and essentially that's any software application that has buttons or ways to interact with the visual design of the software. So anything that's running in Windows or the Mac or in your Android or iOS, especially your iOS device and Android devices. Okay, some of the languages that are used for Visual Studio are Visual C Sharp, C++, and Visual Basic. Um, Visual Studio is proprietary, meaning the applications you write in Visual Studio can only run under Windows, the Windows operating system. Uh, okay, now looking at Visual Studio itself, some important uh, parts of the program to be aware of are the design view, and the design view has the form where you will drag buttons and other objects onto, and it makes up the GUI of the program that you're writing. So that's the design view. Then also there's the code window, and the code window is the code that is associated with the form that you have open at the time. And these by default will appear in tabs up here in the top left-hand corner. Then the other few things that you want to know are Solution Explorer, the toolbox, and the properties window. And I think those are all of them. So let's look and see what those are about. So the toolbox contains the palette of tools, control objects like buttons, labels, etc. that you add to the screen or add to your form, the GUI of your form. The properties window, so here let me go in to this new project that I just opened, and the property window contains all of the properties of all the objects on your form. So like here, if I single click on each of these buttons, it will show me, the properties view will show me the properties of that object, the color, size, all kinds of other aspects of it. So here's the toolbox over here, and then finally Solution Explorer. Solution Explorer will actually have form1.cs on it, and you will double click on that to open your form. So if the design view ever closes for whatever reason, like I'm going to close it right here, let's say I don't have the properties either, I don't have actually any windows. So let's see, you open up your project and this is what you see, nothing at all. And if you just go to View, Solution Explorer, and then double click on form1.cs over here on the right hand side, that will open your project. All the other windows you can access from the View menu as well. The Properties window is right here. The Solution Explorer is right here. Designer is right here for the design view, and the toolbox is right there. Okay, so that is those are the most important things you need to know about Visual Studio. And now let's look at formatting your code and a few of the other things that was in were in the notes on blocks of code and comments and C#. Okay, so a block of code is enclosed in curly braces. Curly braces always appear in pairs. If there's an opening one, there must be a closing one. And the rule for indenting is that code above an open curly brace and below a closing one will be at the same level as the code as the curly brace itself. So if we look at this if statement right here, you'll see that it says if it's at the same level as the opening curly brace, And then if I go down to this closing one that matches it, what's underneath it is at the same level. So essentially everything that's enclosed in the curly braces is referred to as a block of code, and it's at least one level of indentation inward. So you never indent more than one level at a time. When you do an open one, you immediately indent inward. Then when you're ready to do the closing one, you come right back out. So that's the important thing to know about indentation. Then finally, the other thing is how to write something in camel case. So camel case contains the first lower word is lowercase, all other words are uppercase. And then finally, and getting back to camel case, without any spaces or underscores. Finally, our comments. So there are two kinds of comments. There's a multi-line comment that begins with /*, then each line is an asterisk, and then at the end it's */. So those are comments that take up more than one line in the text in the code view. And basically they're not treated like code, they're just treated like notes to the programmer. Then the other kind is a single line comment, and the single line comment always occurs at the end of a line of code. It has 2 //, and then after that everything that appears is treated as a comment. All right, so those are the most important points. GUI, IDE, a few other languages that are associated with Visual Studio, which are C#, Visual Basic, F#, and Visual C++. Then let me see what else. Oh, the different parts, the different views in Visual Studio. And I think that is pretty much it. Oh, a Windows form is where you add all control objects, which are buttons, drop-down menus, sliders, text boxes, etc. And then, oh yeah, WYSIWYG, what you see is what you get. That means that whatever you add to your form in the design view, when you're running it, that's exactly what the user will see. All right, hope this was helpful, and we will see you on Wednesday. Cheers.